Miguel and Robbie back here on the CRP, and we are delving into more UFC news as the UFC is working on their summer calendar. The June fight night scheduled for Milwaukee now has a main event, a little unexpected rematch coming our way in the welterweight division as former world champions Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler lock horns again. I'm joined by Devin Miller, our MMA analyst, to talk about this new welterweight matchup headlining the UFC's Milwaukee card on June 29th. Devin, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. This is somewhat of a surprise. I'm not against it, though, and I'll explain why. Because when they fought for the title, Robbie Lawler had been champion for a few years in this division. He had his two great fights with Johnny Hendricks, won the rematch, and became the welterweight champion. Then had one of the most brutal wars in UFC history against Rory McDonald. Then had another absolutely brutal war with Carlos Condit. At this point in his career, man, he had been taking so much damage recently, had been in so many wars in just a few years' time, and he goes in there against a very well-rested, rejuvenated, hungry Tyron Woodley, and Woodley puts the lights out really fast. Well, Robbie since has suffered some injuries. He had a decision win over Donald Cerrone and had a decision loss to Rafael dos Anjos. Just recently came back after a little bit of a hiatus and looked phenomenal conditioning-wise, better than ever maybe. Totally jacked, about killed Ben Askren within a minute. Just slammed him, dropped bombs on him, literally, as Kamaru Usman said it on Joe Rogan, destroyed his face within a minute. And he ended up losing the fight with a bulldog choke, very controversial finish. A lot of people thought they would rerun the Askren fight back with Lawler, but now they're going to go against, have Lawler run it back instead with Askren. Team the belt from Lawler, went on to pull together wins over a draw against Stephen Thompson, then a win against Stephen Thompson, then a win over Damian Maia, a second-round finish at Darren Till before dropping the belt in a 5-round blowout at the hands of newly crowned welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. So now you have these two running it back. I think this will be a better fight this time because we see more of a hungry Robbie Lawler who's healed up from his wars, and I think it's going to be even hungrier after definitely what was seen with the Ben Askren fight. The only problem here is he's facing another really good wrestler like Askren, only one that is very fast and can put your lights out, and Tyron Woodley, and did it the first time.
Right. I think what we're going to find out here is simply put, is Woodley the guy that has Lawler's number? Because if he could do it again, then, that's a big feather in his cap because, like you said, Lawler has come back with a head of steam. If Lawler is able to get the win again, then, that puts Lawler right back, into the title picture at the very top, and makes him again one of the most dangerous guys out there, and probably going to be again one of the most popular guys out there. So I think that you may be heading, with a win for Lawler, you may be heading into a period where you see him fight 3 quick fights or 2 or 3 more, in a short period of time as, he builds the momentum. I think that's the way that, it works out for him. I think he's getting Woodley at a good time because Woodley, to me, a lot of what afflicts Woodley is in the mind, It seemed like he didn't get off in this fight. Not that, at the end of the day, once you've been getting beat up for a little bit of time, it becomes harder and harder to get off, and then, the match is set. But he wasn't getting off in that fight, And that's a mindset thing where it's like, is he able to get his body to respond at some point, or is just the wars and the time in the ring starting to add up a little bit? That's good. That's going to be what we're looking at because at the end of the day, that's how he took Lawler out the first time, by reacting and by being faster than him. But if he doesn't throw any aggression at Lawler the way he did with Usman, he's going to be a sitting duck for Lawler, and Lawler's not going to need 5 rounds.
No, I agree, and Woodley didn't seem right against Kamaru Usman. I'm not exactly sure what that was about. Kamaru is a very dominant guy. He's a bigger man than Woodley, which is unusual at that weight class, and a better wrestler and more physically imposing. And that's something that Robbie, that's not Robbie's style. Robbie's more of a finesse striker type. But Robbie at the same time didn't even really have a chance to even get off against Woodley in their first fight. Woodley, as Robbie Lawler's fight, the first fight, you know, he got hit with a big T-bomb and went down, and you know that could have happened to Kamaru Usman too. And you know, Woodley found his shot early on and shut the lights out within a couple minutes. And as I mentioned, Robbie was just went through so many wars going into that fight, and I think that this is going to be a much, much better fight this time. I've got a feeling, and this is definitely I wouldn't say a do or die for Robbie Lawler, but if Robbie is one to make another run, it almost is. Because this division's so hot right now. I mean, it might have at this point replaced lightweight. With all that's going on at lightweight and all the chaos there, this might be the hottest division is welterweight right now, because you've got, you know, the new champion Usman, you've got Woodley up there, you got Covington about to fight Usman, then you got Jorge Masvidal knocking out Darren Till in London. You've got him getting in an altercation with Leon Edwards, who's on a 7-fight win streak. And Darren Till is still in the mix somehow on a couple losing streaks. But then Anthony Pettis comes out and shocks the world and knocks out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson last weekend. And you got RDA in the mix still, and Ben Askren's in the UFC now. And now you got Robbie Lawler fighting not only Askren, but now he's got to fight Woodley again. And you got Damian Maya still in the mix a little bit. And
you haven't even mentioned Ponzinibbio's 7-fight winning streak.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio, who I still think could be the champion of this division, and everybody's just totally sleeping on him. Might be the most underrated guy in the sport. Could be the first Argentina champion. Could be the next South America champion in the UFC. That's not a Brazilian. Awesome fighter, and this division is so good right now, and that top 15 rivals any other top 15 in the sport right now. So, but if Robbie Lawler wants to make another step at crack at the top, what could be bigger than beating the number 1 ranked contender? Right? Because when he was the champ, he's still ranked above Covington, so he's the number 1 ranked guy right now. This is a big chance for Robbie Lawler. Big chance. And a lot of people think he was not out against Askren. Woodley snapped out of it, and he was pummeling Askren. So, and he looked great. So, this could be a huge win, as you just said, for Askren. That could get him right on the path of a possible title fight if he could win it. But you got to think either Woodley's going to be totally demoralized from his title loss, and he's already starting to get too comfortable with the broadcasting gig and the rapping and all this kind of stuff and movie roles, and he's on his late 30s and on his way out, had his run, or he's going to come back even more motivated, which is a scary thought. So, yeah, this is an interesting fight.
Woodley's got another thing working against him, and that's the rise of Ben Askren, because that was always the teammate that he could rely on. Hey, he's my training ace, right? I got him I can count on. But now, they're going to, the whole team is going to be devoted to getting Askren ready for fights, and things change, and all of a sudden Woodley's not the champion anymore. Now Askren's got the attention. Now you're on the B side of the attention in your own gym, and those types of things start to change. So I'm going to definitely be keeping a close eye on Tyron Woodley to see what kind of mindset he comes in with. And we're talking about the newly announced UFC Milwaukee headliner. The fights are June 29th. And the card is headlined by the welterweight bout between Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley. It's a rematch, and I've been joined by our CRP MMA analyst, Devin Miller, to talk more about Lawler, Woodley 2.